boyfriend has a secret scar on his chest. I don't even know how this ever happened, even though we've had a 3-year relationship. We have been together for 3 years and have a great relationship. I'll jump right into it. He usually sleeps without a shirt, but for the past 3 days he's been sleeping with a shirt on. I really didn't think anything of it. Last night, in the middle of the night, I rolled over and put my hand on his chest, but I felt something strange. When I started to lift his shirt so I could see, he woke up. He asked me what I was doing and told me to get down. After pestering him a bit more, I got him to show it to me. He has 2 patches on his chest covering the cut. I laid there, in the dark room, with only the faint light from the streetlight filtering through the curtains, staring at the white patches that stood out on his tanned skin. My heart was pounding, as if it was trying to escape my chest in search of answers I didn't have. "What happened?" I asked, my voice shaking with a mixture of worry, fear, and a bit of confusion. He shrugged, trying to keep his expression as calm as ever, but I noticed a slight twitch in the corner of his eye, a small sign that I had learned over the years together that he was hiding something. "It's no big deal, just relax," he said, his voice monotone, then turned his back to me, pulling the blanket up as if he wanted to build an invisible wall between us. But how can I be comfortable? Not when I saw those cuts. Not small scratches from a silly accident like falling into a bush or bumping into the edge of a table, but clear, deliberate incisions, as if drawn with a sharp blade. I sat up and reached for the lamp on the bedside table. Pale yellow light flooded into the room, illuminating his face, which was now frowning because he was disturbed in the middle of the night. "Please tell me," I begged, my voice rising a little with the desperation rising in my chest. "I need to know what happened." He sighed, a heavy and tired sound, then sat up, resting his hands on his knees as if preparing for a fight he didn't want to fight. "Please stop asking," he said, his voice as hard as cold steel. "Just a few cuts." I looked at him, trying to find even a hint of emotion in his dark brown eyes. Fear, anger, or even shame. But there was nothing. Just a lifeless void that I couldn't penetrate. I lay down again, but sleep did not come to me that night. Instead, my mind raced with images and theories. Those cuts are not accidental. There are 3 distinct marks, each with a different angle, as if they were created in different moments, not at the same time. 2 marks were about 3 to 4 inches long, deep and sharp, looking like lines carved into his body with terrifying precision, while the other mark was smaller, like a final punctuation mark in a story I wasn't allowed to read. I wondered if he had been robbed. That was the most logical thing I could come up with in the chaos of my mind. But if so, why didn't he tell me? Why hide it from me, the person he trusted to share everything with? 3 years together is not a short period of time. We built a life together. Not perfect, but ours. I remember the evenings we spent lying on the couch, laughing about little things like how he burned his omelet, or how I always dropped the TV remote under the sofa. I remember the times he held my hand tightly when I cried from the pressure of work, whispering that everything would be okay. He's always been an open person, always willing to tell me about his day, even the most boring details like how many cups of coffee he drank, or who he met at the gym. But now, he's locked away a secret that I can't reach. And that makes me feel like I'm lost in my own home. The next day, I couldn't hold it in anymore. As we sat down to breakfast, a simple breakfast of toast and coffee, I asked again, "Babe, what happened to those cuts?" He stopped chewing, put his fork down on the table with a small click, and looked at me with a cold look I had never seen before. "I told you it's nothing," he replied, his voice dry as if he were reading a script. "I won't give up." "But why did you ask your friend to sew them up? Why didn't you go to the hospital?" He stood up, took the plate to the sink, and returned with a terse reply. "Because I don't want to make a big deal out of it." I asked more, perhaps 30 times over the course of the day, each time with a different approach, as gentle as a whisper, as angry as a scream, as pleading as a plea. But he just repeated the same words like a mantra. "Don't ask anymore." I started to notice small details that I didn't notice before. He avoided taking off his shirt in front of me, even when changing, a habit he had never bothered with before. He stood a little further away from me when we walked together, as if there was an invisible distance that he deliberately maintained. And every time I accidentally touched his chest, even just a light touch while hugging him from behind, he paused, his body tensing as if reacting to a memory I wasn't allowed to know. I felt like an outsider in my own relationship, pushed out of a part of his life that I thought we completely shared. The following days passed in a heavy atmosphere. I tried to stay calm, continuing with my daily life of cooking dinner and watching movies with him on the couch, but every time my eyes glanced at the t-shirt he was wearing, now always discreet, covering his chest, I felt a sense of insecurity creep into my heart. I wondered if he was protecting me from something, or if he simply didn't trust me anymore. I thought about talking to Nam, his doctor friend, but I wasn't sure if Nam knew anything more, or if he was just part of this veil of secrecy. I started to notice other changes in his behavior. He's quiet more often, no longer telling random stories about his day like before. When I asked him what he did during the day, he simply replied, "Nothing special," then changed the subject. There were moments when he sat alone on the sofa, staring into space, his hands unconsciously touching his chest where the cuts were hidden. I wanted to scream, to shake his shoulders and demand the truth, but I was afraid that would only push him further away from me. I don't know what to do. Part of me wanted to let it go, believing he had his own reasons. I thought I should respect that, the way I had always respected his boundaries in the past. But the bigger part, the screaming part of me that keeps me awake at night, can't stop worrying. What the hell happened? Those cuts weren't natural, and the fact that he asked a friend to sew them up instead of going to the hospital only made me more suspicious. I started imagining bad scenarios, a fight in a dark alley, a surprise attack, or even something darker that I didn't dare think about. But there were no answers. It was all just endless circles in my mind, leading me from question to question without ever finding the way out. I tried to find clues in the little things. I checked his phone when he left it on the table, not because I didn't trust him, but because I was desperate to understand. But nothing unusual, just text messages with friends, colleagues, and a few calls from Nam. I even rummaged through his coat pocket, hoping to find a piece of paper, some trace, but it was all empty. I felt guilty for my actions, but curiosity and worry overcame my reason. One evening, as we sat down to dinner, I decided to try a different approach. "I know you don't want to talk about it," I began, choosing my words carefully. "But I just want to make sure you're okay. I'm worried about you." He looked at me, his eyes softening for a moment, and I thought he would finally open up. But then he smiled faintly, a smile that didn't reach his eyes, and said, "I'm fine. Don't worry." And so the conversation ended, leaving me with a familiar feeling of emptiness. As the days passed, I began to wonder if I was overdoing it. Maybe he was right. Maybe it wasn't a big deal, and I was just drawing nightmares in my head. But then I remembered those cuts, the coldness in his voice, and the way he avoided my eyes every time I mentioned them. No, this is not my imagination. Something happened, and no matter how hard he tried to hide it, I couldn't help but feel that it was changing things between us. Update. A few months ago, I posted this here. There's a lot of information in my comments section, so take a peek if you want to know the full extent of what happened. A few days after I posted this, he started becoming very sick. It appeared he had also been stabbed in the back. We went to the hospital, and he had part of his kidney removed. He hasn't really talked to me about it yet. He just said that 2 guys attacked him. Just that. I don't understand why he didn't tell me that in the first place, just to let me know what happened. I don't even know if he has any other injuries on his body. I talked to his friend, Doctor, and he knew nothing about the backstab wound. I just don't understand what he's thinking or how he can think it's safe to ignore it. The doctor said he most likely could have been treated without surgery if he had come in right away. He acts normal, but at the same time, completely different. He has a problem with me touching him. We could cuddle on the couch, but I could feel him squirming because he was uncomfortable. That part got a little better, but he was especially bad with any kind of sexual approach. He doesn't cry or show any emotions. He just pushes me away or holds my hand roughly. He refuses to see a therapist and refuses to talk to me, so I really don't know what to do. It clearly affected him. The frustrating part is that I still don't even know what happened. He didn't want me to see the scars, so he always kept his clothes on and locked the bathroom door when he showered. He goes from hot to cold very quickly. If I say the slightest thing he doesn't like, he turns into a brick wall for hours or days. It's been almost 3 months. Sometimes I feel like everything is back to normal, and then he just turns into an emotional black hole for a few days and disappears. I don't know what to do. Turns out he was attacked by 2 guys. Things got much worse. Whenever I touch him or say something he doesn't like, he just stays quiet.